Good day, my name is Sky, and I appreciate you spending some study time with me. I'm here to help you make money in online poker by teaching you key strategies and getting you to take action. So I have a really useful episode for you today because I'm going to help you upgrade your street-by-street decisions by teaching you how to plan for your opponent's actions in the future. I'm going to teach you how to use a special future tick sheet, which you can see on the show notes page. Plus, we have a few hand examples for you and screenshots for those on the show notes page as well. So make sure you go over there, smartpokerstudy.com/pod516. Let's get you thinking about the future. Gambate!
Bob, in all my years of calling games, I don't think I've ever been this excited.
You're excited? Feel these nipples.
In order to help you start planning for the future, you are going to use a 4-column tick sheet. Now, the 4 columns are a pre-flop column, flop, turn, and river column. And each column has your opponent's actions that they could make after you make your play. So their pre-flop actions, let's imagine you raised, they could fold, they could call, or they could re-raise you. On the flop, if you check, they could check. If you bet, they could fold, call, or raise. Same thing with the turn, river, check, fold, call, raise are the actions underneath those columns. And of course, go to the show notes page, smartpokerstudy.com/pod516 to see a screenshot of this tick sheet. Let me show you how to use this future tick sheet with a few example hands. So in this one, I have Queen 10 suited on the button, couple of folds from the 2 early position players, and then the cutoff, a 28-16 player, open raises to 2.5. Now I could fold my Queen 10 suited, I could call as well, but I really like 3-betting with hands like this. They often don't see them coming, the suited gappers like the Queen 10. But before I 3-bet to 9 big blinds, I've got to think about how my opponents will respond. I think the open raiser, he's in the cutoff. He only made it 2.5. I think he can find a fold here. So I make a tick mark under the pre-flop column next to fold. But he's not the only one I'm 3-betting. We still have the small blind and the big blind left to act. If I make it 9, I think they will both fold. The small blind is 35/0 player, and the big blind is a tight 16/5 player. But I don't think they'll both fold because I'm making it 9. I'm repping a big hand. They have worse position than me, right? They're out of position versus my button. I think they'll both fold. Let's make 2 more tick marks. So we have 3 tick marks in the pre-flop column next to fold. And then what do? And you're going to do this actually in-game before you make your play. Make your tick marks because it's forcing you to think about your opponents, think about their positions, think about their player types, think about what's going on instead of just willy-nilly 3-betting to 9 big blinds. So that's what I do. I 3-bet to 9 big blinds, and then lo and behold, the small blind calls. Oh, cold calling 9. The big blind, oh, he also cold calls 9. And then the original open raiser in the cutoff folds. So I was correct on that he would fold. Now these 2 players, I thought they would fold, but they called. One of the great things about thinking ahead to the future is that when your opponents do something that you didn't expect them to do, that is critical information. That's going to tell you so much about their potential ranges. Because I truly thought they could fold probably 80, 90% of the time here. They both called. They have something worth seeing the flop. Now, I'm not going to dive fully in and discuss their ranges in this video. I actually did that in a recent YouTube quiz. And you can actually find the quiz video embedded on the show notes page, so go there, take that quiz. The flop is 30 big blinds, and it comes down Queen 7 deuce, giving us top pair weak kicker with our Queen 10. The small blind comes out firing for 1 big blind in the 30 big blind pot, and then the big blind raises to 10. Action is back on me. When it's on me, 3 buttons pop up, my options fold, call, or raise. If I fold, I exit the hand, no more thinking about the future. But if I call, that small blind player will probably call as well. We'll go to the turn. The pot will be 60 big blinds. The big blind raiser has 60 big blinds. So what's going to happen? He's just going to shove. I don't like many cards on the turn with just my top pair, weak kicker, 2 hearts out there. I have a backdoor flush draw, but that's about it. So if I call, I'm just going to face a shove on the turn, to which I'm going to have to fold. Unless I want to just hope he's bluffing on that turn. So I don't like calling because that ugly situation it sets up in the future. You see how just having your tick sheet out in front of you forces you to think about what would happen if I make this one play. But what if I did the other play of raising? Well, if I raise with my queen 10 suited, is that a value raise or a bluff raise? Do I want either of them to call? Do I want them to come back over the top? If I raise, I think I am turning my queen 10 suited top pair weak kicker into a bluff. I'm only getting better hands like maybe ace queen or a set of sevens to continue, and I'm getting all worse hands like a flush draw or an under pair to fold. So I don't like raising. I don't like calling because the future looks bleak, so I would rather just fold. Let's get to another example. We have ace 5 suited on the button. Under the gun decides to open raise. He's a 52-25 player. He makes it 3 big blinds. The cutoff player folds. And now I like 3-betting right here. He is such a loose aggressive 52-25 and he has folded to 1 3-bet in the past. Let's put this guy to the test right now. But before I make my 3-bet, how do I think he's going to respond? And how do I think these other 2 players are going to respond in the blinds? Well, first off, the open raiser, I think there's a good chance he will fold here. So we make a tick mark next to fold pre-flop. And the small blind and the big blind, they're going to fold most likely unless they have a very strong hand. The small blind is an 8-8 tight player. And the big blind, a 13/10 tight player as well. They've both folded to 3-bets in the past. Yeah, I think they'll give up if I 3-bet. So we make another 2 tick marks here under the pre-flop fold column. And then we make our play. I 3-bet to 9 big blinds. Small blind, big blind both fold. Open raiser decides to call. I figured he would fold, but this probably means he has a decent hand, maybe a couple of broadways, some kind of middle pocket pair, a suited ace like I have, my ace 5 suited. So his call, when I expected him to fold, kind of helps me narrow his range a bit. But also, because he's loose aggressive, he doesn't have pocket aces, kings, or queens in his range. Because a player like this, probably coming back over the top. Now, the flop comes 4-7-5 rainbow. I have second pair, ace kicker with my ace 5, and he checks to me. Now, if I c-bet here, this player has only folded to c-bets on the flop 1 out of 5 times. He doesn't like folding the flop, but on the turn, a little bit more often, 50%, he's folded 1 out of 2 times. So he's probably a slightly more turn-honest player. So most likely, I'm going to have to double barrel this player. That pot's already 19 big blinds. I think my plan, when we're thinking about the future, I want to go 1/3 pot right now on the flop so that I make it bigger on the turn to get him to fold in a spot where he's folded in the past, because past actions are more likely to be repeated in the future. So I'm striving for that turn fold from this player. So I'm going to bet 1/3 pot. What do I think he's going to do? I think he's going to call. So under the flop column, I make a tick mark under call. I go 6 big blinds in the 19.4 big blind pot, and he ends up calling. Okay, he did exactly what I expected. And that does tell me something about his range. I think versus such a small bet, a set of 4s, a set of 5s, a set of 7s, those are all going to try to raise it. They want to start building the pot when they have such a strong hand. Versus my 3-betting range of pocket aces, kings, and queens, right? So his call is definite weakness right here. I think I can get him to fold on the turn. The queen of clubs hits on the turn, making the board queen, 7, 5, 4 with 2 clubs. I have the ace 5 of spades, 31 big blind pot. He checks to me. I am going to go through with my plan. Hopefully, with that queen on the turn, he doesn't have ace queen or king queen or even queen jack. Without a queen, I'm pretty sure I can get him to fold right now. And I believe that 2/3 pot will do the trick. So I think he will fold. So I make a tick mark in the turn column next to fold. And then I make my play. I make it 20 into the 31.4 big blind pot. Boom! He folds, awarding me the pot. You know, the skill of hand reading has really helped me plan for the future, because hand reading forces you to think about all the information available to put your opponent on a range of hands and then narrow that range through the streets due to their actions. And the best way that you can build the skill of hand reading is by getting my hand reading workbook by going to smartpokerstudy.com/hand reading workbook. And I want to thank some awesome poker peeps for picking it up recently. So thanks to Villy Rodrodo, Ed Deaver, Neil Dawson, George Crozier, Leslie Fuji, Patrick All, Jeff Taylor, John Brousseau, Ewan Phillips, Paul Eden, Jim Libby, Ziffarelli Norden, Mike Youngblott, Graham Warren, Ian Hamshaw, Andrea Koenig, John Hammersmith, Quincy W., Shokru Ibragimov, Juan Claudio, Garrett Huber, David So, Brian Green, Paulo Pagliari, Dimitro Anufriv, Lok Yuen, Martin Barris, Paul Mondello, Keith Feifel, Reto Schaub, and Massimiliano Urbante. Thank you all so much. You went to smartpokerstudy.com/hand-reading workbook. You're building your hand reading skills, and of course, you're going to use those to help you plan for the future. Once again, smartpokerstudy.com/hand-reading workbook. Let's get back to it. One last example hand here. We have Queen Jack offsuit in the small blind. The button, 400 big blind stack. I don't have much of a history, only 4 hands on the player, but he decides to limp in. Right away, I'm thinking we've got a fish on the line. So in my mind, I'm thinking I want to ISO raise this player. He is a fish. I am out of position. It is just a Queen Jack offsuit, but let's put him to the test. Let's start to make something happen on this table in only my second hand. But before I ISO raise, what are these two players likely to do? Well, if I go 4 big blinds, I think the button player who limped in, I think he's going to call. But I don't want to go something bigger like 5, 6, or 7 big blinds to really force the fold, because he might still call with this big chip stack of 400 big blinds. So if I ISO raise to 4, he is calling, so let's put a tick mark in the call column under pre-flop. And the big blind player who can still act, if I make it 4, I think most likely he's going to fold. Don't know anything about him, only have 4 hands on the player. But I'm down with just assuming he'll fold most of his hands right now. So let's make another tick mark under fold. Then we make our play Queen Jack offsuit. We go 4 big blind ISO raise from the small blind. The big blind folds and the button calls. Okay, kind of what we expected. We go to the flop, 9, 10, king. We have Queen Jack. We flopped the nut straight, 9 big blind pot. So we were the pre-flop raiser. I think we want to keep going for value. He's got such a big stack. On the 9-10 king, he can call with any pair plus draw. He might even have 9-10 for 2 pair, king 10 that raises me. There's so much good stuff right now, but I think he's most likely going to call right now because his limp calling range has a ton of broadways. There's 2 broadways on the board. So before I make my c-bet, I think I'll get a call. Let's make a tick mark under the flop call. I bet 4.5 into 9. Boom. He calls. Give me what I expected. The turn is 18 big blind pot. The 8 of clubs hits, making the board 8, 9, 10, king with 2 clubs. I've still got the nuts with my Queen Jack plus Jack of clubs. It's kind of a club blocker right now to his potential flush draw. So I think I want to go again for value. I mean, I have the nuts. I also don't want to check and let him check behind and catch a free club in case he does have the club draw, right? So I'm going to bet again for value. Let's go a little bit over half pot. If I do that, what is he likely to do? Most likely on the turn, he's going to call as well. He still has plenty of pairs plus draws, flush draws that he can call with. So we go 11 into 18. Boom. He calls. Okay, great. Giving us good value right here. The river comes a 7 of spades, making the final board 7, 8, 9, 10, king with no flush draw possible. My Queen Jack is the nuts, 40 big blind pot. So now I have to bet with my Queen Jack nut straight on this board. I got to get value. But I decide, let's make it roughly half pot. And if he wants to bluff me, he can maybe make a bluff raise because I'm sizing my bet down from the prior street. He could try to bluff me, but if he has a jack or a 6, he's thinking he's getting value. He'll value raise me for sure right there. And I think that's probably better than going 30 big blinds and getting just a call from everything but a jack would re-raise. Because remember, that board is 7, 8, 9, 10, 4 to the straight. So I'm going to go about half pot. I'm hoping he raises, but I'm thinking he can call with any pair, even a king, just doesn't want to believe that he's beat right now. But a call or a raise, I would really love either one at this point. So I go half pot, and he min raises me to 38 big blinds. Awesome. He's already put in more than if I had gone 3/4 pot and shown absolute strength. This is a great result. But I still have the nuts, so I can't just call. I have to raise. Now I'm just really hoping at this point his raise indicates a jack or a 6 for a straight, and a player like this cannot fold a straight when there's no flush possible, even if it isn't the nut straight. So I think if I shove right now, I think he's going to call. Let's make a tick mark under river call, and I shove. Drat. He folds, missed out on value. But the whole time throughout the hand, I'm thinking about the future. I'm thinking about his reaction to my plays, and I ended up winning quite a lovely pot of 116 big blinds right here. Alrighty, now it's time for you to take action. Use the same tick sheet for yourself. Whip out a piece of paper, 4 columns, pre-flop, flop, turn in, river, with their possible actions after you make your action. And start practicing your plans for the future to help you make better decisions in the moment. Thank you so much for listening. Once again, please go to the show notes page, smartpokerstudy.com/pod516 to see what the future tick sheet looks like, to see those hand examples, and to take that Queen 10 suited quiz from YouTube. And please check out my hand reading workbook, smartpokerstudy.com/hand reading workbook, one word. By improving your hand reading skills, you will improve your planning for the future. Well, until next time, take action both on and off the felt to become the player that you want to be.